From the woman rewriting the future of street and abandoned animals through her shelter home, to the team of like-minded individuals with a mission to empower the youths and rural population of the Northeast. And to the singer-songwriter-guitarist who has effortlessly melded folk elements with his personal style of music. Hello to all our viewers and welcome to yet another edition of Showtime. I'm Aaron Lyngdoh. This week we turn our attention to initiatives I reckon embody the true spirit of giving. I travelled to Purpose Shelter Home here in Guwahati to learn more about the place through the eyes of animal shelter volunteers. I had the privilege to meet the founder whose passion for animal welfare is infectious, and I mean that in the best possible way. Please say hello to the lovely NANDINI BARUVA. Nandini, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
Now, my first question to you, how did Purpose come into being?
So Purpose was the whole idea of having a shelter and an NGO for animals dedicated to street animals happened in 2016. I came across Mustard, a paralyzed cat. He was about 2 months old when I found him. So he was my first cat, first animal which I rescued, and he was paraplegic, hip down. So he lived for 7 years, and when I rescued him, there was so much of zeal to live and to recover. Right. So then I realized that there are so many other street animals that probably would want to live and would need that help, and it's just that they're not getting it. And maybe I could do my little bit, and then help them out. So that is how it was a very small kind of feeling of trying to help street animals who do not have much for themselves. So that is how the whole idea came into being.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and of course your history with pets, if I may say.
Okay, I have been a fashion designer for most of my life. I studied in Pearl Academy of Fashion in Delhi. This was way back in 2000. And I came back here, started my business. There was a store by the name of Kiramaki by Nandini BARUVA.
Okay.
And it has been there till about 2011. And then I started simultaneously work with street animals.
Okay.
And once that happened, the NGO also formed Purpose Foundation, and I started to balance both, like the professional life, and then this is something I do out of passion, passion. So trying to balance both was a little difficult. So since the lockdown, with all the COVID thing happening, the store has been shut off temporarily. We are starting again next year, but as of now, I'm concentrating on the shelter and the NGO.
Okay. Yeah. And a little bit about your history with pets.
Well, my first pet, like I said, was Mustard. I was not very, I never realized that I was an animal person. I'm more of a cat person. It's like a I love dogs also. I have a lot of dogs. I've been rescuing dogs for quite a while. But I think, it's a very crazy thing. When I rescued Mustard, I felt that he also rescued me in the process. You know, there are a lot of ups
I
and
like
downs.
I like how you put that. Yes.
Yes. So you know, it is not that I am doing things for him; he's doing things for me. We are, you know, it's like a reciprocation. An animal helps you heal in many ways, mentally, mostly, psychologically.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have a huge contribution. I think they contribute very positively. They have amazing vibes. You know, they're selfless. Their love is selfless. So that is how I think. I'm a very giving person by nature. So when I started working for animals and when I spent more time with them, I realized that, you know, it is a much more gratifying and satisfactory thing to do and spend my time and, you know, maybe look at it as a focus and do something about it truly. So that is how, like I said, you know, I started working and staying more with animals, and after one after other, and now I have about 50 cats and
50 cats.
And you know, more than 30 dogs.
We just got back from your shelter. So what all activities happen at the shelter?
So a shelter is a place where we get animals after we rescue them, and then we before we get them to the shelter, we get them treated.
Okay.
To an extent, they recover from their health issues, and then they're vaccinated, and then we get them to the shelter because we need to maintain certain specifics in a shelter so that there is no cross infection. So in a shelter, they spend their time recovering mostly, and then from there we work on adoptions. Unfortunately, adoptions are very slow. You know, it doesn't really happen for indie dogs. We work with a lot of street dogs, local indie dogs. They are the Indian pariah breed, actually.
Yes.
But then people think, and you know, they have this whole notion that, okay, indie dogs, they are not supposed to be pets, but it's not that. They can be the best companions. They are very kind and gentle. They are robust. You know, they are fit and made for our weather condition, as opposed to an animal, a dog, which is a breed dog, which probably like a husky, who is not for this climate.
True.
Saint Bernard, not for this climate.
Not for this climate.
No, not for this climate. They are from Siberia.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, they are from a place where it snows, and we actually get them here, and we can't put them in a place of AC all the time. You know, we can't put them in air conditioning. It's not the healthiest thing to do. So I think there should be a conscious effort that, you know, we actually stop or reduce the selling and breeding of these animals.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and we need to, as Indians also, we need to focus on our indie breed dogs. We need to adopt them. If someone, I always say, you know, now everybody has a local breed dog. So I always say, okay, you have a breed dog already. Now, when you want to adopt a second dog, please come to a shelter. Don't buy.
Exactly.
You know,
true.
adopt. Don't
Yes.
shop. You know, so don't buy. You just come to a shelter, pick up a indie dog, give it a home, and then it kind of balances everything. So if we do not, you know, start adopting our indie dogs, there will be a lot of dogs on the street. Though there is a program like the Animal Birth Control, where a lot of NGOs are doing it already.
Right.
So street dogs are usually kind of taken and they are sterilized. They are spayed and neutered so that their numbers come down and the population is under check.
Okay.
But however much we do ABC, we also simultaneously need adoption.
You do, yes.
Right? So I always stress that shelters are there not forever. The dogs are there. Shelter is not a home.
It's a shelter.
It's a shelter at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So people need to come to shelter. The whole culture should develop that people should come and adopt. They should not go to a shop and place money and buy a dog. You cannot buy love.
Exactly.
You know, as simple as that. Yeah.
Wow. We came from your shelter again. It's not an easy thing for somebody to run a shelter, and then you have the cattery here at your place as well. Tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you've faced so far.
Right. So I practically have 3 places to look after. I have a cattery here, I have a shelter there, and then I have a 3rd place where I have another cattery.
Right.
So now there are so many catteries because adult cats people do not usually adopt. So they're very close to this whole idea.
All right.
First of all, there is very less feline adoption because people have an idea, a notion that cats are supposed to be outdoors.
Okay.
You know, as opposed to what we think that a indie cat is quite okay with being indoor.
Indoors, yeah.
Yeah, and they want to reciprocate unless you give them a chance. How will they reciprocate? We have cats here who has gone through abuse, who's been, whose legs have been amputated, somebody's eyes taken out. We have blind cats, we have paralyzed cats, handicapped, specially abled cats. So all of them they're all indie cats. They've all lived lives on the streets. Apparently people call them feral. They're feral cats, but when they come home post rescue, when they are recovering with our volunteers and with the members of our NGO, there are a lot of young members who are working,
Right.
and
Right.
the recovery time is with them because it helps recover them faster, as opposed to putting them in a shelter. So
Alright.
cats are more sensitive that way. So, but then these are mostly adult cats, and people do not like to adopt adult cats. Kittens, yes, they do. They do.
But
go
not the
for it.
adult ones.
Not the adult one. They
Okay.
have a notion that they could be a little feral and they might not be able to, but it's not true. They definitely adapt, and they are also looking for love. We just need to give them a chance and be a little patient.
Coming to sensitivity, of course, it's a job that involves a lot of, again, sensitivity and then emotions. How does one deal with that emotional stress, if you will? Because, at the end of the day, you get attached to something like that. It's rescued from the street to a shelter, and then you come back home. Obviously, it stays in your head. How do you deal with something like that?
Extremely stressful. What rescuers go through, there's a term, it's called mental fatigue.
Okay.
It's a fatigue that they go through. It's an emotional fatigue. So what happens is we are dealing with injury, we're dealing with accidents, we're dealing with pain and death, all the time. So yeah, it takes a toll on you. I mean, we get attached to each and every animal we pick up. So it is very difficult. We need to train ourselves that this is that much we can do, and the rest is not up to us. It's up to the universe to decide. But we do give it our best shot. And then there are these amazing doctors and vets who are taking care of them. So end of the day, we can only do that much. And then we have survivors, and we have the ones who do not survive. So it goes on.
So how is the adoption process here at your shelter?
We have a very strict policy. What we do is we do a virtual home check or a manual home check.
Okay.
If the person is
That would be
not,
the first thing
that's
that
the
you would
first
do.
thing we do,
Yeah, okay.
because home checking is very important. We talk to all the members of the family. We make sure that every family member wants and thinks collectively and unanimously.
Makes sense,
That
yes.
if one doesn't like animals, so we do not prefer that.
All right.
Say for example, if there is a husband and wife, so both has to be equally interested in adopting a dog or a cat. Also, we have strict rules and policies for adopting cats. We need people to net their homes, their balconies and their windows, because we prefer giving cats out to indoor as indoor cats,
Right.
and not indoor outdoor. As far as dogs are concerned, we do have our adoption forms, which they have to sign, and they have to we give them a brochure where they have to get certain things which are important for the dog. We also give them veterinarian follow-up details,
Right.
where they can go and get a checkup done. We do all of this because the dogs usually have history. They do have their veterinarians,
Yes.
so they need to follow the same process. So it is pretty strict. So we make sure that from the shelter they go to a good home and they're safe and they're taken care of.
And you said to me offline that you've been doing this for like more than 7 years now.
Yeah.
So what suggestion would you have for somebody who really wants to start and take up I wouldn't say that it's not just a job anymore, it's a passion,
Yes.
to start a shelter of his or her own?
You're right. I mean, the first thing that has to be there to start something as challenging as this is passion. If the passion runs out at some point, you cannot manage this.
Right.
This is extremely challenging. Why it is challenging is because we are in a place where there is very less amount of support in terms of veterinarians, many veterinarians, right? In terms
Right.
of places where we can keep our injured animal. I mean, a shelter is actually not a place to keep an injured animal. We need to, it's an interim place. So once the animal is kind of recovered, the animal can come to a shelter. Now that recovery period, there are not many places where we can keep these animals, because some of them are extremely sick. I mean, with their limbs not being, that has to be amputated, they could be blind, they could have viral diseases which are extremely deadly, they're extremely contagious. So you can't even, if you touch that dog, you need to make sure you contaminate yourself. Yes. So you cannot walk into the shelter like that. So there's so many things. There's very small things that you need to be careful about, so that you do not do cross infections in, between animals. And animals die like that. It has happened. We learn with our mistakes. Everybody does that. At the beginning, it happens. We don't really understand how the process works, but now we know. So it is very important when new organizations are starting, new shelters are starting. I'm kind of very happy because after I started, there are a lot of shelters now, small ones, and mostly started by youngsters. Sprouting up. Yeah, they're sprouting up. Yeah. It's amazing to see these young people being so compassionate and, they're doing their bit. So I think I need to retire.
No, not so soon. So, you know what, a little bit of a personal question. In terms of support, how do you mobilize manpower, or let's say even finances, or for that matter?
Manpower is very tough. So it is one of the biggest challenges that we have right now. People do not want to work in a shelter because the kind of job that it is, it's difficult.
Yes.
It's an environment that is tough. There's a lot of stress involved. There's a lot of work involved, like a lot of physical labor. So yes, it is challenging. We keep changing people, hands keep changing. So when hands keep changing, we are dealing with dogs or we are dealing with cats, and they're live animals. So they are emotional.
Right.
So they get attached to somebody, and suddenly there's a new person coming in. So they, again, the whole process
starts. They have to get accustomed to the new person.
Yes,
you're right.
So these are challenges. Then there are new dogs coming in. Then they have to get accustomed. So that's again challenging. They fight. Some of them fight. Some of them are aggressive because they come from situations that have made them aggressive. There's nothing you can do about it. And because they're so aggressive, some of them are not in a position to be adopted. So they unfortunately have to spend their entire life in a shelter. So what happens in America and other places, there are kill shelters, if you know. We do not support that.
We don't, yes.
At all. We can't even think about it. I mean, in India, we come with different values. So what happens is when a dog is not adopted, they do not look at that adoption anymore. But here we keep trying. We keep giving them behavioral lessons or training. We keep trying. And if it doesn't happen, they spend their lives at the shelter. We try to give them whatever best we can. So that is how it works here.
And that brings me to my final question, Nandini. You've answered a little bit of it, but being around animals for nearly 7 years plus probably, what has it done to you as an individual?
I think pretty compassionate. You feel, in a world that has become so mechanical, people are so busy all the time with themselves, placing their own priorities all the time. I think somewhere we have lost quite a bit of humanity, so that's what I feel. That's my personal take. So when people are cruel,
yes,
there's chaos in society. So it is very important that we indoctrinate the whole concept of being compassionate and kindness in children. And that's what I believe. Our children are our future, right? So I believe that what we should do is teach them kindness and compassion. It should start young. It should start with animals. So that's how we do all these outreach programs in schools and colleges. That's how a young child can grow up to be compassionate and contribute his or her little bit, to the society, to the welfare of animals. So that's what I feel. I think it's important to be compassionate and kind in a world which is cruel and has lost its touch with humanity.
Nandini, thank you so much for your time. Very insightful. Once again, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Purpose Foundation has been actively involved in rescuing dogs from the meat trade from Northeast India. With limited resources, the shelter has been able to rescue, treat and rehabilitate more than 300 dogs and cats. Adopt, don't shop. Nandini, BARUVA, more power to you. Time now for a very short break. I will be back with an organization that employs innovative and creative methods of learning and knowledge to create a much needed sustainable ecosystem. Stay right there. Welcome back, viewers. My next guest is the founder and director of Cokes, alongside R.K. Vijay Birsat, the founder and managing director, and the team. She has been instrumental in creating change and changing lives. Well, please welcome Eunice Patton. Creating change, changing lives is what Cokes believe in. How has the journey been so far towards realizing that belief?
Thank you so much, Aaron. Nice hearing you. Okay, so basically, COKE stands for Center of Learning, Knowledge and Services. We started in the year 2015 by merely training a group of like 30 farmers in the field of apiculture. But then I can actually say that now we have a network of over 50,000 farmers, and we just turned 7 in the month of June. And our journey has nothing but been incredible. My business partner and I, we don't come from affluent backgrounds. So we had to push ourselves a lot harder than what people would usually do. There've actually been times when a lot of ups and downs, actually. There've been times when we've actually wanted to give up, times when we feel like we're on the top of the world, times when we've actually wanted and maybe felt like we've taken the wrong path. But then actually there's just one time when you actually feel like, oh God, you're actually doing something right. And that is basically when you actually have like, we have like farmers meets. So we've had a lot of farmer interactions over the past 7 years. And we've had like farmers come to us, beg us, and like, tell us that they share their problems with us and tell them that we're facing a lot of problems. And if there are any ways like we can help them. So there are like certain times and like when you actually realize and have situations like this, when you realize that you're actually doing like something good. So yeah, and I actually feel grateful for times like this when I feel like I've actually left city life to come back home. In short, our journey has nothing but just been like sheer hard work, like immense dedication, a lot of tears, a lot of joy, successes, and so much of emotions. So it's been incredible, actually.
Now, how can the livelihood of rural community improve through the services you offer?
Okay, actually, Aaron, before we conduct any capacity building trainings, we go down to the masses. We go down to rural masses, and then we conduct trainings we conduct meetings with the trainers, with the farmers. Sorry to tell you, conduct meetings with the farmers to learn of the problems. So basically, they share the problems with us as to like what they would want to learn and in ways in which they want to increase their skills. So then, just an example, couple of months back, farmers from Peninsula had actually called us and then they had approached us for help. We then went down to the Peninsula and then we realized that broomstick is grown in abundance in Peninsula. I guess many of you wouldn't know that, but then it's grown in abundance in Peninsula and people actually sell them for 30 to 40 rupees, 30 to 40 rupees per kg. We have like people from outside coming and buying it. So what we've done is we've created like a training for them wherein we teach them how to value add to the broomstick, not just sell it as a raw produce, but then sell it as a whole. So then now usually what happens is like we sell a raw produce to people from outside and then it comes back to us. And then we buy a broom for like 100 rupees. So basically we teach them how to value add to the raw produces. And that ways they are like better benefits as well. So yeah, in that ways, we are just trying to value add a lot of to the raw producers that are basically available.
And just when everyone is trying to give the best of their service to their clients, what do you do to be on top of your game and stay relevant?
What I would like to say is that at Cokes, we always try to do things differently. Change is definitely inevitable. If you don't keep up with the change, what happens is we are either left behind or someone else takes our place, right? So that's the reason why we never tried, we are always try to move ahead in terms of we never try to be stagnant and we're always trying various ways, like innovative ways in which we can come up with new processes and things like that. So for us, every day is a new learning day, like I do a lot of research every day as to like what's the latest trends, what's the latest gadgets, what's the latest technologies. That's just like one way in which I can keep myself updated about what's going on in the world. And one thing I think so what I know is that one should never stop learning, right? The day when you feel like you actually know everything, that's actually like doomsday. That's like doomsday is approaching. Yeah. So I just feel we should always stay hungry. Yeah.
How do you envision a farmer's future within the state of Meghalaya or even beyond, let's say?
Yeah, like yeah, you like not the farmers in Meghalaya, but basically the farmers, I would say like the entire Himalayan ecosystem. Since we deal with the farmers from the entire ecosystem, I would like to say like the Himalayan ecosystem is already rich for like high value agriculture, and it has a spectacular landscape for sustainable tourism to the rest of the Indian landmass, right? So I just feel in the next few years, maybe Northeast will definitely be like the food hub to the entire world in the near future. Like for example, we get calls from all over the world. Like just recently, last week itself, I get a call from a buyer basically from Dubai, and he was inquiring about the jackfruit that we get in Meghalaya. So in that ways, I just feel in the near future, Northeast per se or the Himalayan ecosystem will definitely be like, considered one of the food hub in the entire world. So yeah, and also now people are also like wanting to eat organic, and maybe, everyone is trying to get into organic. So I just feel Northeast has a big advantage as well. Northeast is, or as you know, Northeast is already blessed with like, the rich flora, rich fauna, and it's untouched as compared to other states of the world of India. So I think so, and everything that we grow in Northeast can be considered organic. So I just see Northeast as the next food hub to the entire world in the next coming years.
Now, coming back to Cokes, what products and services does the organization offer?
Okay, so we have a farmer's brand. It's called Be Natural. Okay, so it started in the year 20, we started it in the year 2017, if I'm not mistaken. I'm sorry, 2017. Yeah. So what we try to do is like through Be Natural, we provide regional identity and farmer traceability. Okay, what I mean by that is that when you buy any of our product, we have like we have like product, we have spices, we have RTS, then we have like oils, we have sauces, we have all this, which are sourced all from the entire Himalayan ecosystem. So when you buy our product, you will see a QR code, okay? So basically, when you scan that particular QR code, you get to know who grows your food, which farmer grows your food, from which part of maybe Northeast that farmer is from. So these are like just small few details in which you get to know where your food comes from and who the farmer is. So actually, in the year 2019, we actually got an award from Ciel for Be Natural itself because we promoted regional identity. We were the first company in Northeast to be given the Gold Award for the Innovation Award. So yeah, apart from the food brand that we have, which is Be Natural, we also have a gifting solution brand, which is called In a Box. So what is this is that in a box we have, say for example, 6 different spices, which are like sourced from farmers across the entire Himalayan ecosystem, and they're like sourced from 6 different farmers. They're sourced from 6 different districts, 6 different. So every box has different spices which are sourced from 6 different farmers, 6 different districts. So it's all box. So it's called In a Box. So it's like a gifting solution. So we also have another brand which is called like Mad Essential. It's a cosmetic brand. So all these ingredients that we use in it for the making of it are sourced from Northeast. Currently, apart from the products that we have, we also are into services, as you're aware of it. So we provide capacity building trainings, also provide branding and packaging solutions. We design turnkey projects in the field of agri and allied sectors, also provide consultancy services. So in short, we're like all over. We do a lot of things.
Why don't you briefly talk to us about the team behind the company?
Sure. Okay. So we like the founders itself were like young. We consider ourselves young, and our team is approximately around 30 people, which are like all like we are a young team. Okay. And then we all come from different backgrounds. We come from finance background, we come from media background, HR, tourism, and hospitality. Like I come from the media background. I've been working in the industry for almost like 17 years, but then I finally came back in 2014. So, but then the thing about my team, I would like to say it's actually when I say we, I mean Vijay and I, the founders, we basically lay down the rules, right? And they are the team is the one who actually runs the show. They are actually the real heroes, and without them, I think so Cokes is nothing. So I would like to give a big shout out to my team. Thank you for all the time and hard work that you've invested in the company, and maybe thank you for believing and being part of our journey.
What's the most enduring part about what you do?
Okay, there were a couple of things that I wanted to point out, and maybe since we're like time constrained, I would like to say the most enduring of all would be like the connections definitely that we built with our farmers. Sometimes I feel I'm living in a joint family. Usually I would like worry not only about my needs, but there are times, like I did mention, like there are times when I want to give up, but then I have to think I am educated enough, I can get myself a job. But if I do leave and go somewhere else, maybe then what will the farmers depend on, right? Currently, they're dependent on us for their livelihood. So sometimes, like, I feel like the farmers are like part of us, and we are like, I'm living in a joint family, and they are like our extended families. So I feel the connections that we build can be considered one of the most enduring.
And finally, Eunice, has Cokes branched out to other states here within the Northeast?
Okay, Cox has actually been conducting many researches and have already branched out to other parts of Northeast. We have also conducted trainings in Munsiari, Arunachal, Nagaland, like I said, and also Meghalaya. So we are like everywhere, just that our head office is in Shillong and our nodal office is in Nagaland. So yeah, maybe in the world somewhere outside India very soon. We have some plans, so maybe you can stay tuned to that.
Well, Eunice is a graduate in filmmaking and has worked for the likes of MTV and Disney and continues to bring in more magic to Coke's family. Eunice Patton, what a delight. We will take another short break here. Coming up next is an artist who's delved deep into the diverse world of music just to fall in love with all things rooted to his rich and diverse heritage. You won't want to miss that. Welcome back, viewers. My next guest is no stranger to freestyle acoustic, classical, indie, American folk, gypsy, jazz, to name a few. With over 200 original compositions under his repertoire, he's taken music a notch higher and, in my eyes, a force to be reckoned with. The very talented OJONAV HAZARIKA. OJONAV, first of all, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, my first question to you is, who has been responsible in sowing the seeds of Indian classical and folk music in you?
Well, it has to be our father, So he was very good musically, and he understood. He learned classical, Indian classical as well, and he was very interested in different forms of music, and that includes jazz, flamenco, and the great band called Shakti with John McLaughlin, Zakir Hussain, and Paco da Lucia. So he introduced us to, me and my brother, to various forms of music, and obviously he loved playing the guitar, and the guitar was always there at our home, and so we used to play the guitar, and one of us always used to bang the tables as percussions, and that's how we grew musically.
So what are some of your accomplishments in the earlier accomplishments probably in the world of music?
Well, I'm not sure if I can call them accomplishments, but I've been creating music for a very long time. So there was this. So it all started, I guess, somewhere around 2005 to 2008 region timeline, where it was very formative years, where I was, I wanted to do some things, but I didn't know a lot. But I knew a bit of blues because I used to jam with my cousins, and there's one of my cousin. His name is Ambarish Soikia. He's a very famous guitarist from the region. So we used to play blues, and so during that time I started having a few bands. So I was studying. I was doing my BTech, and I was part of a few bands. Like there was this Paradox, which was the college band. There was the band called Inside and Pintide, and so it was in Bhopal, and we were a bit popular in the circuit, and obviously we were doing a lot of covers at that point of time, but I did want to create music, so we were writing some songs, and I can't say I'm proud of them, but at least they were important because it all started then.
So when we talk about all the bands that you've been to, so from being in bands and now to a solo singer, songwriter and guitarist, why that drift?
Well, a band is working in a band is very difficult because you have to work with everyone's time schedules, and you need to have similar musical inclination, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't work out, and at one point of time you have to focus on your things, like you have to earn, like that's a very important stage in your life where you need to decide whether you want to continue in music as a career or you want to do something else, and then you do your own music. I took the latter because I was good in science and maths, unfortunately. But then,
unfortunately,
because I couldn't go towards a musical career. But I guess it was a blessing in disguise, because what I see is that if you take a musical career, especially if in India and you are an instrumentalist, focused towards Western and Indian influences, but it's very difficult to make a brand for yourself, especially if you're an instrumentalist. So yes, it was a blessing in disguise because I could do everything creatively. I could create whatever I want without having to worry about whether it will sell or not.
I did a little bit of research, and you've got more than 200 compositions already. I understand that it'll be unfair to all of the compositions. However, what's your favorite composition so far?
Well, it's very difficult to pick because the reason why I say it's because I don't have a favorite one, and the main reason is that every composition is a reflection of a time in my past.
Okay.
So you cannot say that you didn't like this part of yourself or this part of, or you can't like this part of yourself best.
Yes.
Because it's like part of my life goes into that composition, and it's what I experienced during those times. It's all in the composition. Basically, it could be just a few, maybe a 30-second composition, but then that 30 seconds includes what I've been going through during those weeks. So I would say everything is significant in that sense. Having said that, I am quite proud of my last 2 albums.
Okay.
And I'm also proud of a composition which was part of an EP before that. The EP was just after my father passed away, and that song is called In Remembrance.
Okay.
So that song is very close to my heart because I made it for him.
Wow, that's brilliant. Speaking of albums, I want you to talk to us a little bit about Blues of Terracotta.
Well, Blues of Terracotta is very special for me. It was done during.
That's your first album, right?
Well, that's my first album as a solo instrumentalist.
Okay.
It's special for me because so just to give you a brief history. So I was studying different kinds of music before that.
Okay.
And that album kind of summarized everything that I did before, and it was a shift from there on. So basically, I took all of that I've been doing in the previous 10 years, which was just some small compositions or whatever, and then I put a break from whatever I was doing and thought of doing an album.
Right.
And at this point of time, I developed I developed chords, I developed scales. I mean, they might be similar to some of the existing scales, doesn't matter, but they are mine in the sense that, you know, I did that myself.
I get you, yes.
And I created them, and it's part of whatever I do. So it's a structure that I created, and I can say that it belongs to me. Like, I mean, nobody can say that, you know, he borrowed this idea from.
The originality is there, you mean to say, yeah.
Yes, it's a very original album in that sense. 1, 2, 3, go.
So how different is it from the latest album that you did?
Well, Blues of Terracotta was mostly jazz based.
Okay.
It was a jazz based album in the sense it was more gypsy jazz based in the sense the beat.
What is gypsy jazz bass?
So
Explain that to me.
there is a form of jazz which is called gypsy jazz, or it's called jazz manouche.
Okay.
So it was started by, one of the greatest guitarists of all times, but people probably don't know about him. His name is Django Reinhardt.
Okay.
He started this musical revolution in the 1920s, and now, of course, many people know about him, and he's now considered as one of the greatest guitarists of all time, if not the greatest.
Okay.
So that album was kind of, giving regards to him. So I used some of the beat structures. So there's a beat structure to the album. So the beat structure is from the gypsy jazz beat, because I was working with gypsy, trying to learn gypsy jazz as much as absorb
Right.
gypsy jazz as much as I could at that point of time. So yeah, so it's a jazz album from and what should I say? I think that's mostly.
You know what's
summarizes.
interesting to me is that why did you feel the need to come back to your roots? Why the need to do something folk when the whole world, 21st century, they want to be like, we do modern music, you know what I'm saying, contemporary version of
Yes.
things. Why the need to do folk again?
Firstly, after I finished my album, Blues of Terracotta, I started thinking, what next? So, and at that point of time, I was considering various things. I was thinking that, this is Blues of Terracotta, and then, I had this kind of an idea where I would go to various places and make an album from that region.
And you did that, didn't you? You did that, right?
Yes, I did that.
You did that, right? Yeah.
I did that. So yeah, exactly. That was my idea. But where to start, right? So better to start at home,
Okay.
because I loved the Brahmaputra Valley, and I love the people, I love the music. It has been a big influence on me and our culture in general. So I came back wanting to study, and it's such a huge resource. There are so many genres in this region. It's even I was surprised. I didn't know at that point of time, because at that point of time I thought, okay, there is bihu, and then there are some variations of bihu, and
Exactly.
probably some folk. Like, it's just general. You
True.
just have like, okay, folk is folk, but there are so many variations in folk. Like, so if you go towards like the Udalguri region, there is something called Siya Git, there is something called Nangeli Git, there is something called Jikir, which is from the Muslim community of Assam, and this is from the Hindu community. So
Right.
there's a lot of religion based, and there's a lot of work based songs. So like the Nangeli Git is work based songs. Like when they go to the fields, they have these farmers. So there's this river, and there are farmers on this side of the river, and there are farmers on the other side of the river.
Interesting.
And
yeah.
basically, they have like a about these rap duels, right?
No, not at all.
No, I mean, about the rap.
I know
duels.
what rap is, but I don't know what rap duel is.
Like, they do a duel. Like, one guy does a rap, and the other guy tries to counter what he's saying.
Okay.
You know that,
like a battle kind of thing.
Yeah, rap battle. Rap battle kind of a thing. It's there everywhere. But this was there in our culture as well. So
interesting.
And from a very long time, like hundreds of years. So it's called Nangeli Geet, and people from this village, they used to sing something, and people from the other village, they used to counter them.
Wow.
And all they used was maybe a flute and a dhul. And it's very interesting. So I recorded a lot of folk musicians. So there's T-Tribe songs. The Missing community have their own songs. Boro community have their own
Right.
songs. So it's very interesting, and I got to learn. and it's not just the songs and the lyrics. There's a lot of like musical elements, intricate musical elements, like the beats and the, you know, the scales. So there are a lot of things which can be studied and which need to be researched more, you know.
True.
I feel that there is a lot of formal research that needs to be done musically in the region, because I just did the research and I came up with the album Roots of Terracotta.
Right.
But I'm not a researcher, but I think people should research more, and there's this Satriya music,
Right.
Kshatriya
But
music.
that's there because why? I mean, there's no information being sent out, so people don't know what's happening. There's no
Exactly.
proper research. You know, I want you to talk to us a little bit about your future projects. What's in the pipeline, if at all?
Okay, so so now I'm back in Guwahati. So now the immediate thing that I'm planning to do it with my brother, who is sitting here in the studio.
All right.
So we have kind of formed a small group. It's in a bit of continuation with what I did in Roots of Terracotta, but it also will, you know, fuse my brother's inspiration, because we grew up musically together. We are
Right.
totally synchronized when it comes to, you know, musical sensibilities. So yeah, it's a project that we are going to do together, and we are going to involve folk musicians, and we are called House Mongrels.
Madhouse?
Mongrels.
Okay.
Because, you know, there is nothing, we call it ourselves mongrels because, you know, we are not pure bloods. Our music is not a pure blood music or anything like that. It's not pure folk, it's not pure classical, it's not pure Western.
I get you.
But we can guarantee that it's surprisingly fresh. So yeah, that's all there is to it.
Surprisingly fresh is good for me. OJONAV, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure and very insightful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aaron. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
The next song that we are going to play is a song from my latest album, Roots of Terracotta Okhom, and the name of the piece, it's called Okhomia Melting Pot, and it has got lots of elements from our, you know, folk heritage. So we hope you like it.
Well, the gentleman alongside OJONAV is his brother, Vaibhav Hazarika. They look good, sound good, and above all, they perform together. Can it get any better? I doubt it. Well, gentlemen, or rather the House Mongrels, they like to call themselves, thank you for dropping by. Just when I thought the world was obsessed with all things frivolous, purpose, cokes, and House Mongrels came along. NANDINI BARUVA, Eunice Patton, OJONAV HAZARIKA, and Vaibhav Hazarika. Thank you for gracing this week's episode. You're watching Showtime. I'm Aaron Lyngdoh. I shall see you next week. For now, Goodbye.